I'm gonna make a statement and you're probably gonna find it a little surprising and it's probably gonna upset a bunch of people. Skincare, when properly done, is a ton more effective and a way better way to fight skin aging than lasers, chemical peels, and all those expensive devices put together. If you wanna know why, check out this video. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Amir Karam. I'm a board certified facial plastic surgeon. I'm the founder and creator of Karam MD Skin. I specialize in facial rejuvenation, which basically means I help people look as young as they feel. And on today's episode of Skin School, we're gonna talk about something that I firmly believe in, but I can say this for certain, not everyone believes in. But I think I'm right. And I want you to pay attention to this video, and then I want you to form your own opinion, share it with whoever. Let's get a little bit of conversation going about the topic. But I'm gonna give you my opinion, and then I'm going to back it up with why I believe my opinion is correct. Let me back up for a second and just set the stage. First of all, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been focused on facial rejuvenation and helping people literally look as young as they feel, which for most of us, it means we're in our 30s. We have youthful face, youthful looking shape and skin. And as we get older, we either want to preserve that, or if we're older and we finally realize that, things have changed on us, we want to restore it, right? So that's the entire story around facial anti-aging. It's either if you're lucky enough to be watching this or hearing about this and you're in your 30s or even 20s and you're like, okay, man, would it be amazing if I could keep my skin? And I want to preface this by saying, I'm not talking here at all about sagging, neck laxity, extra skin around your eyes and all that kind of stuff, right? When your face starts to change, it's for a completely different reason that is unrelated to what's happening to your skin. But what I'm talking about here is skin aging. And that's the other half of facial aging. One is shape and the other one is skin. And what's happening to the skin, it really comes down to this. When it's young, it's thick, it's supple, it's clear of fine lines and wrinkles, it's clear of discoloration. It also bounces light off of it, this quality called luminosity, and therefore it is young looking. As you age, what happens to skin? You start to see it thinning. Fine lines and wrinkles start to form. Pores start to form. Its skin becomes rough. It becomes discolored with pigment. It also doesn't reflect light the way it used to, right? It becomes dull looking. All those things. That is aging skin. This is the thing that always, shocks people. But I'm telling you, you literally can prevent your young skin from looking old the way I just described it. And if you're on the older side and your skin is starting to look like this, you can actually restore it to looking younger. You don't need my help in the operating room. And what I'm telling you right now is you don't need anyone's lasers, chemical peels, and expensive devices to achieve this. Now, I'm not saying that those devices and lasers and chemical peels are meritless and worthless. I am simply saying that they are not the best path to take if you're trying to have the goal of resisting skin aging or preventing skin aging. And I'm gonna explain why that is in a second. So try to keep all of this top of mind. This isn't a bashing, this isn't a, trying to be, controversial for the sake of being controversial. I'm gonna give you very solid reasons why this is. Now, having said how skin ages, I also wanna simply say that one of the factors that accelerates skin aging, so keep this top of mind, make a note of this, is sun. Sun, specifically the UVA light that is transmitted through it, has an accelerating effect on skin aging. Everything that I just mentioned is worsened by sunlight. So step one in this story, whichever path you take on, the at-home method or the in-office method, sun protection is at the center of that, okay? So let's get that out of the way so we all can kind of go from here. Now, why does skin age in the first place? There are cells inside the skin called fibroblasts. Fibroblasts are pumping out collagen, and as you age, those cells start to slow down. So as those cells slow down the production of collagen and elastin and all those other supporting proteins, well, the structural change in the skin is inevitable because you're losing collagen and the skin is starting to shrink. And now take sunlight on top of it, which degrades collagen and accelerates the breakdown of collagen, then your skin's really starting to thin, right? That process begins somewhere in our mid-20s. Some of the papers talk about 27 as being the peak of collagen production. So it then starts to drift down, and then once you get to perimenopause and menopause, if you're a woman, you're gonna see rapid changes as the estrogen levels drop. And if you follow the curves between estrogen and collagen, you see they literally just parallel each other and then take a nosedive. And when that happens, the structure of the skin starts to thin. The other part that's happening is there are cells in the skin that are producing melanin. Melanin is pigment. So when cells are increasing the production of melanin as a result of aging, you start to see age spots or sunspots, the brown pigment on the skin. And that is also directly related to sun. So you see why sun plays a pivotal role in all this. As pigment is increased, collagen is decreased, what you start to see happening is aging looking skin. Now, what are your tools? What are the ways you can actually address this? This is where the pathway starts to split. Let's say you are on the younger side and you want to approach this. Well, your skin's not bad yet. It certainly hasn't really aged yet. It's not showing. You're 30 something, right? You want to keep it this way. What are you going to do? What's your approach? What can you do to increase the production of collagen and prevent it from degrading to a point where it starts to thin the skin? What are you gonna do? So that's the question. That's like what you have to be thinking about. What are you gonna do if, as you age a bit more, sunspots start to build up on the skin? What's your choices, right? Now let's put you in the 50s. Now you're in your 50s, and all of a sudden it occurs to you, hey, you know, my skin's really starting to look aged. I want to do something about it. What are your choices? What most people think about is they want to, let's call it pathway A. Pathway A is they go to their dermatologist, their plastic surgeon, their estheticians, their med spas, etc. And they start doing things like chemical peels and lasers and things like that because they've been told that that's what you do for skin aging. The other group might say, I want to do things like skincare. I'm going to go to the department store. I want to go to Sephora. I want to go to, you know, whatever, Blue Mercury, all these different places that sell skincare. And I'm going to start on a regimen. But what regimen do you start on? How do you know what you're doing is actually doing anything or making the kind of changes that you're looking for? That is what this video is going to do. It's going to put you straight down the middle of an effective path. Let's just play this out. Let's play path A out and let's play path B out. Path A, you go down this path and you're like, okay, once a year I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna get a laser done. IPL, BBL, fractionated laser, Fraxel, profractional, whatever. I mean, you name it, there's a million different lasers out there. I'm gonna go this route. So once a year you do that. What are you doing with that laser that's getting to the source of the problem? Remember, the source of the problem is the decreased production of collagen at the fibroblast level, increased production of melanin at the melanocyte level. What are you doing with that laser to impact that? Each laser does something completely different. In fact, I made an entire video on what each of these lasers do. I definitely urge you to watch that. But lasers are not all created equally and they don't all do the same thing. There are specific lasers that resurface the skin by removing stuff off of it. You have another laser that targets pigmentation. Those are the IPLs and the BBLs that target brown spots. Then you've got another laser that pokes a bunch of holes in the skin that technically is supposed to injure the skin and as a result stimulate some collagen. So those are the things that you have at your disposal. But what comes with a laser? Well, usually it's pretty expensive. The second thing is it has a downtime. The third thing is it's inconvenient because you have to go somewhere and do it. And the fourth thing is you are unlikely to do it on a regular basis because of the things that I said. And what does regular mean? Well, once you get a laser done, you're gonna see an improvement. And all of you who are watching this who've had like an IPL or had any type of laser or chemical peel know this. You get a treatment done and your skin looks pretty sweet afterwards. You're like, wow, that was good. Now the IPLs, you gotta do usually like 3 to 6 of them in a row, but a nice solid resurfacing laser, it's usually done once. You're like, wow, my skin really perked up and it looks really good, right? So you've taken off all that dead stuff off the skin so your skin's a little bit more bright and fresh. You have taken some of the brown stuff off with the IPL and the BBL, and now you're like, okay, you know, we're cooking with gas here. Things are looking good. I made an investment in myself and it's good. But what happens 6 months later? What happens a year later? You know the answer to this if you've had lasers done. You start to see your skin declining with time. Your pigments start to come back. That brightness of your skin starts to go away. You're kind of like, what was all that for, right? But but you're wanting to be a really good proactive person, so you go and get another laser. And then you wait another 6 months, maybe another year, you get it again. And your skin is going from looking great to not looking great to looking great to not looking great. Overall, you might be just kind of treading water a little bit here, but what's happening under the hood is you still are decreasing the production of collagen and your body continues to pump out melanin, right? So what I liken it to is, in the fall, depending on where you live, leaves fall, they get all over the bottom of the tree. You go through there and you clean it up one weekend. You come back next weekend, there's more leaves. You clean it up, you come back next weekend, there's more leaves. Now this is where things get different. That's how you treat your skin with lasers. You're basically trying to clean up the mess that's being made by production of pigment and decreasing of collagen. Because in between treatments, the biological process is continuing. Now, imagine you're in your 30s and you play this approach out for the next 20-something years. Every 3 months, every 6 months. And if you're doing it any less than that, you're really not doing anything at all because, generally speaking, in between treatments, things are degrading so much that you're kind of going maybe 6 to 9 months where your skin's not looking so great. And then you revitalize. Well, that's no way to really, fight this battle. So you play this out. It doesn't really work really well, as you can see where I'm going with this. That's my greatest objection with trying to use lasers and chemical peels or devices to try to address skin aging changes, either in a preventative way or in a restorative way, because you can't keep up with what's happening at the biological cellular level, which is like a river just flowing, taking your skin down with it. And as a result, all you can do is get into these modes where you're sprinting up to try to build up some ground that you've lost, and then you take a rest and then you go backwards again. And then so where do you end up? I hope you enjoy these analogies. I'm just throwing them out of nowhere. But this is really what's the story with that approach. Now, let's go down path B. Path B is there's a combination of known molecules, compounds, if you will, that have been studied for the last 30, 40 plus years. And if I were to tell you that these molecules go directly to the source of the issue, they go right into the fibroblast, into the cytoplasm, into the nucleus, and they cause the cell to increase the production of collagen, right? So now you're basically going in there and you're turning in the on switch and you're developing and making the cell act young again, right? Think about that for a second. You're actually making it act young by taking in these molecules. So that's a fibroblast, collagen. Then you go into the melanocyte, you get into that little cell and you decrease the production of melanin. So you're turning down pigment production. What in the world could be better and more logical? Because if you're doing something that's doing that, then guess what? Your skin's not aging through it. Your skin's not aging through it. All you have to do is do this consistently enough to where your skin and your cells are constantly building that collagen, decreasing the production of melanin. And as I mentioned, the river is going this way. Well, you're on a speedboat now. You're on a motorboat. You're going directly against the current and you're winning. That is the goal. That is when you pat yourself on the shoulder and you're like, you know what? I did something really smart here. So what does that look like? Well, those little magical molecules that I mentioned, those compounds that I mentioned, you've probably heard of them 1,000 times. They're retinol, they're vitamin C, they're niacinamide, and some more advanced peptides. Frankly, when you use those and you use them regularly, collagen is being built, it's stimulating collagen. Then you use another series of product categories that are decreasing the production of pigment at the melanocyte level. So all the ones that I just mentioned, in addition to some botanical molecules that are basically decreasing the production, stuff like daisy flower extract and certain things that are basically found in nature that when put on the skin actually have that type of an effect. What you are doing when you're using topical actives, and that whole category are called active skincare, molecules that actually create a change in the skin. Now, I'm not giving you an exact definition of what active skincare is, but that's fundamentally the way I look at it, is if you're imposing a biological change in that skin cell, then you are actively resisting skin aging and you're improving the skin from where it was, because now all of a sudden you're starting to build back up. So if you follow these curves, here you have basically skin thickness, thin down here, thick up here. With age, it starts to go like this. Well, guess what? With preventative approach on this. Path B, if you start young enough, your skin literally never takes that nosedive. It stays nice and flat like it was when it was young. And then if you're down here and you watch this video and you're like, oh my God, that sounds great, I want to get started. Well, guess what? Get started, because then you start to move back up the curve. This is exactly why, and this is the observation that I had literally for the last 20 years, but really early on in my practice, and my wife starting her skincare journey 15, 20 years ago taught me the power of active, consistent use of skincare. But here's the thing, how do you know what to do? How do you know what combinations to put on? How do you know which work well together? How do you know like if they are too strong together, if the chemistry isn't, it's hard. It is really hard. From my point of view, I took that question and that challenge and I decided to develop what is, many of you have seen me talk about, is the Karam MD trifecta. And why that is because I knew when I first got started with this, literally all of my patients, I would put on these big multiple step programs, like literally 6, 7, 8, 10 steps to cover all their bases. But it was so complicated that very few people could do it. So 4 or 5 years ago, we've developed and put out the trifecta, which makes it easy for you. So I'm just giving you this to give you simple perspective. That's your easy solution towards this approach. Whether you do that or simply go out and find a retinol, find a vitamin C, find an niacinamide, maybe find some peptide that have a stimulating effect on collagen, get some non-hydroquinone lightener type products that decrease the production of melanin, hyaluronic acid to plump up the skin, ceramides, which are lipids to basically manage the exchange of oil so that you don't clog up your pores and get dilated pores. Those are all the components. So hydration, pore management, as well as collagen increase, melanin decrease. That's like your categories right there. So if you find individual products to do that, or you're already on it, you're in good shape. If you want to make it easy, trifecta. I'm simply putting it out there for you for that reason. But here's the deal. You take that path, the years go by, the months go by, your skin is just getting better and better and better. Literally better and better. I'm not exaggerating. Today, I spoke to a patient of mine. She's been on the trifecta for 2 years. She's 75 years old. And as I was talking to her, her skin was literally glowing off the thing. And she's like, yeah, it's a miraculous how much change has happened even at 75. Now, the younger folks who do this, they've been on it a year or two, whatever it is, their skin just continues to look amazing, right? I've been on it for 2.5 years. I feel like my skin has never looked better, especially as an adult. But that's what skincare properly put together does. And I don't care if it upsets, my dermatology friends, people who literally their entire practices are around delivery of lasers and chemical peels and all these other things, because I think at the end, there's a place for both of them. You just want your foundation to be skincare and sun protection. And then here's where it gets sophisticated. If you have brown pigments or red pigments, then go in and get your IPLs. Get a series of them and continue to use them until you don't need them anymore. If you have a lot of wrinkles on your skin, or you have a lot of discoloration on the skin, or if you have a lot of rough texture on your skin, well, there's nothing wrong with going in there and getting a nice chemical peel or a nice laser resurfacing to jumpstart the thing, and maybe even redoing it in a year if you need it. Chances are, if you're doing the skincare on a regular basis, after you've done that, you probably will find yourself actually getting better and better. Instead of how I described your skin degrading after the lasers and the chemical peels, etc., your skin will actually start to improve. And then if you take another laser on top of that, consider it like boot camp. You're elevating things on the baseline. So I'm not throwing those things even remotely out the window. I'm just giving you prioritization of how you should be approaching this so that you don't get left behind, you don't make a mistake that's going to cost you literally years of aging, and along the way you're like, wow, I've tried to do the right thing, but you didn't know how. And here's the other caveat. Just because some skincare product at a department store or whatever is expensive and has all sorts of beautiful design elements that say all sorts of important words like rejuvenation, this and that, doesn't mean it's doing anything for your skin. I can't tell you how many products there are out there that are literally nothing more than expensive moisturizers. Let me just make this final point here. If your at-home skincare regimen does not include daily use of a retinol, then you're probably truly losing ground and not making the improvement that you could. That's huge. Most of my patients in the past used to use it like once a week or twice a week. Retinol doesn't work that well like that, because how are you going to keep the momentum building? That is exactly why when I developed the trifecta, it took so long, because I wanted to guarantee that my patients were getting a retinol in the regimen and putting a retinol with all these other aspects and putting it in a way that you can tolerate it on your skin is not easy. It wasn't easy for the chemistry department of the lab that I work with, and it was not a thing that happened very quickly. But it would not have made me feel comfortable having an anti-aging skincare regimen, I insisted on this, without having retinol in it. So if you're not on retinol, you're missing out big time, because that's one thing that, like I said, has been around for decades. So don't miss out on that. And at the end of the day, choose the path that works for you. But I think for most of us, choosing the easier path that's less expensive, that doesn't have downtime, that is able to be used year round, and you're building momentum as time goes on, is the right path. That's why I'm a big believer in at-home active skincare as a foundational element to resisting and restoring skin aging. All right, folks, if you enjoyed that, hit a like below. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. If you want to share this with anyone, including some of your doctor friends or some of your own providers, share this. Again, I'm happy to engage and discuss anything regarding this topic. If you want a little bit more information about this topic, not just this topic in general, but the topic of skin and facial, rejuvenation, follow the Karam MD journal. Subscribe to that, because that will get you this information in a written form once a week. All right, folks, hope you all enjoyed it. Until next time, Dr. Amir Karam.